Content warning, y'all. We have lots of fun making this podcast, but remember, we watch a lot of R-rated films, use language that reflects that, and joke about heavy topics to create levity around these themes. If that doesn't feel safe or could be triggering, please take care of yourself. We want you to have fun listening too. This also means we might not be suitable for children. Oh yeah, and we spoil the end of all the movies we pod about. Thanks for listening.
Well, hi.
In the early aughts, I don't know. What is what technically is early aughts? Are we still in the early aughts?
No.
No.
Because now we're in the 20s.
Well, so the tens would be, so early aughts is just the zeros?
0 through 9er.
Okay. Early aughts. Okay. I just want to make sure that's what I thought, but I was like, wait, is it just, anyway.
That's been my presumption.
Okay. So there was a show called Cat House.
Oh, okay.
It was like an HBO show that basically followed around the happenings of a brothel in Nevada.
Okay.
I think it's Peoria, or no, it's not Peoria. It's Pahrump or something like that.
Oh, that's where the chicken ranch was.
Yeah, Pahrump. That's where it's legal, because it's not legal everywhere. People are mistaken.
Correct.
Prostitution is not legal everywhere in Nevada. It is not legal within Clark County, which is where Vegas is located. You have to go to Pahrump and yeah, I don't know.
Nye County.
Yeah. So it was around there. And I used to watch that, and I loved it, and it was funny.
Okay.
It literally, when I was watching Chicken Ranch last night, I was like, this literally feels like that show was trying to do a remake. It was like exactly the same. It's like the girls stand up front, a guy picks them, they walk them down this long hallway, they have like a jacuzzi, they have all the stuff, and it was,
apparently in 2008, Sundance Channel did a 6-part series.
I saw that. I was trying to, because I couldn't remember the name of the show I was thinking of, so I was looking up things that were really, I wasn't sure if it was actually about the chicken ranch. The one that I watched was about the bunny ranch, is what it was called, which is obviously a ripoff. But yeah, I saw that there was
it's also like a nice nod to the Playboy mansion, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just saying I discovered that there was. I was like, is this what it was? I was like, this doesn't look familiar. And then I Googled it, and I was like, yes. It was called Cat House. But yeah, I loved that show because. And was it Mandy from from Chicken Ranch? Was she the one that got fired in the end?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was she reminded me, there was like a, thicker, big-titted blonde that in the Cat House show that I thought was really hot.
So anyway, we're here today to talk about a couple documentaries that related to two of these films.
Mm-hmm.
We've already been talking about the Chicken Ranch and related things because of Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Tejas. And then I also watched 9 to 5, The Story of a Movement, I think it's called, which is a documentary available on Netflix. which is about the organizers who started a movement called 9 to 5 that was somewhat the inspiration for the film 9 to 5.
Interesting. Yeah.
Jane Fonda presumably learned about the 9 to 5 organization and said, I should make a movie.
Nice.
I don't know how much more it's. I mean, clearly, it's, I mean, they address some things that are in the film that are clearly came from the organization meeting with. I don't know if they met with Jane Fonda. I mean, I know Jane Fonda met with some of them, but when it came time for the, like, you know, they sent Hollywood people to talk to them to get whatever.
Yeah.
So the thing about the fantasies section of that film came out of that meeting.
Yeah. I think you were telling me like the real one was like the real fantasy ones were a lot worse.
Yeah, in the doc, Jane Fonda says that one of the fantasies someone detailed was like actually just grinding up the boss and making coffee from that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You love to see it.
Anyway, the Chicken Ranch documentary.
I didn't watch the 9 to 5 one mainly because Keith
didn't
invite me to watch it and just started watching it, and I got a little bit butthurt about that.
Yeah,
but you asked if I wanted to rewatch it with you, and I said no.
Right.
Only because I feel like with everything going on this week, I couldn't do it.
I mean, it's definitely an interesting story.
Yeah.
The documentary, as far as style went, felt very boilerplate of like any documentary you would see produced in the last 10 years.
Boilerplate? What's that mean?
Standard.
Oh, okay.
The Chicken Ranch documentary that we watched last night was hard to come by. I ended up finding a copy on DVD, but it came from the UK.
Yeah.
Because it was made by a British documentarian, Nick Bloomfield.
Yeah, and the only trivia on that was that this was the only film that he didn't like actively appear in.
Oh, really?
Even though he is seen in like a mirror in one scene or something like that, but he didn't like. This was like the only film of his, or like, yeah, this was like that he didn't like be in. That he didn't be in.
So yeah, and the beginning of it, there's like one line about connecting the Nevada Chicken Ranch. So I'll give my backstory. The reason I knew this existed was because I somehow saw it when I was maybe 15 or something.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you'd actually seen it before.
Yes, that's how I knew it existed. And you know, I'm sure I know my brother was there, and I'm very tempted to even ask him about it. I doubt he remembers it, but like I wonder how the fuck he got a hold of it.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I watched it at some point. I probably shouldn't have, you know.
Yeah. I mean, there's really not any nudity or any sort of like, but they do. The like trigger warning for talk of like, they're all like,
oh,
I got a scar here from my boyfriend. Like, yes. I got like, this guy beat me up. This guy did this. This guy did that. This guy like just going off on all the abuse that they suffered, which is unfortunate. And then, there's one, like everything is like really interesting, and there's only one like scene and line that makes me like really uneasy about all of it, where like they're dealing with a guy that doesn't want to have to pay, like he wants to like get something for really cheap, and they're like, yeah, no one here is interested in like, you know, Like, he wants to, like, a blowjob for $20, and they're like, yeah, we don't do that. Like, we're not gonna do. And he's like, I just want head. I just want head. And they're like, yeah, no. And
he keeps being like, I can get it cheaper somewhere
yeah,
else.
and
And they're like,
he
fine,
keeps
go
like
somewhere else.
harassing them pretty much, and they're like, why are you? He's like, I don't understand why you won't just do it for me. I'm white. And they're like, what does that have to do with anything? You know, like, and you're like, oh, this is great. And then one of the girls was like, we don't even let N words in here.
Yeah.
And I was like, and they don't show who says it, but I think I know who said it, but they don't show who is saying it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but like none of them like are like, whoa, you shouldn't have said, like, no one reacts to that. They're just like, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And like no one counters it. No one says it's not true. Like nothing like that. They're just, so I was like, wow, that's really awful and horrible and in many, many ways.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So that was like the only part that, like, it kind of crushed me, because I was like, oh, I don't really feel like I can recommend this, because it's like, oh, this is a brothel with a lot of apparent racism.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, especially for the fact that they're like, we pride ourselves on, you know, like, we don't let people drink here. We don't let people, like, you know, we don't want people to, like, you know, I feel like that's a really responsible thing, where they, like, don't provide drinks, in the sense of, like, they don't get people drunk.
Yeah.
They don't, you know, they don't want people to be inebriated when they're coming there to hang out with a girl. And I'm like, that's so smart, and that's such a good idea. I mean, obviously, if someone's, like, had a drink or something, they're not going to deny them, but, like, they're not, like, they don't have a bar there, nothing like that.
Right.
So, like, they're really careful about, like, how much they drink and all that shit like that. And so, and, like, the behavior, you know, and I was like, that's really smart, you know? So I was like, oh, that's good that they're, like, you know, careful, and, you know, they make sure that, you know, like, she was talking, like, one guy said something, and she was like, all our girls, he was like, oh, I think it was the same asshole. He was like, I could go on the strip, and she was like,
Yeah.
he was like, pay $20. She's like, yeah, and you'll get what you pay for. She's like,
You probably catch
she's like,
something.
yeah, she's like, all our girls go to doctors, and they're checked, and they're,
Which
you
is-
know, and I think that's like a really, that's like an important thing with doing sex work, is like, you have to get checked. You have to have your status checked.
Well,
you
I
have
think
to.
it's part of the legal
Yeah.
requirement
Right.
in Nevada.
That totally, yes, I'm sure it is, because it's the
Also.
same thing with porn. Like,
Okay.
you have to have, like, but, like, it's not even like, I think you have to, it's something like with, you have like a license that you get or something like that, or I'm not exactly sure. I'm only saying what I think is the case. I know in, like, LA or something, where a lot of, like, porn industries are, to do that, you have to, like, have, like, every 3 months you have to have your status basically checked.
Okay. Jesus.
And you have to, and, like, if you get a negative thing, it's not up to you. Everyone is notified that you have
Even
that.
positive?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you're, like, I mean, like, if you're either way, I think, you know, like, you're all clear, or you're not, you know?
Mhm.
And so it's like, everyone is going, like, your status changes from, like, can work to can't work.
Sure.
And, like,
right.
that's it. Like, no one gets like a positive, and then it's like is able to hide it. Like, that does not happen.
right.
Like, you know. So that, I mean, it makes sense that would be the case, you know, the legalities. But I just mean, like, it's smart for them to take, like, they're taking care of, I mean, you know, taking care of, you know what I mean? They're doing their best to do something within, you know, the bounds of, you know. Also, this was like 1982 or something, so their behavior to women is pretty terrible. I kind of loved the scene where they're just going through how much they hate having sex with men.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it, because it's like, it really is like, you know, 'cause, like, men do think, like, you're paying someone that they can, like, change your world. And it's like, oh my God. You should just let that, like, it's so wild to me that I would never, when I was younger and I was queer, I honestly was like planning on going to the bunny ranch. Because I was like,
Oh yeah.
obviously no girl's ever going to want to hook up with me, so I'm going to have to figure it, So yeah, I was like, I would love to do that. And I was like, but it was never like, so I can rock their world. You know what I mean? Like, never would I think, like, if I ever went to, like, a sex worker, which why wouldn't I? I would be like, yeah, you know what you're doing better than me. You know
Yeah,
what I
right.
mean? Like, I don't understand why you would go to, like, I mean, obviously, if you have, like, certain things you're looking for, that's one thing.
Sure.
But, like, even so, you would go to someone that offered that specialty. You wouldn't just be like, cute.
It turns out there's a lot of misconceptions
Yeah.
and just
Misogyny.
confused perspectives about
Yeah.
sex and sexuality, and
Yeah.
on top of that, add all the stuff around sex work.
I loved that they said that their favorite customers were old men.
Right, because they're usually so gentle and
They're gentle and
they can't do a lot.
And they're always like, "Thank you so much."
I know, yeah. How about when the owner dude,
Oh my
who's
God,
a piece of shit every time he's on camera.
Yeah. Oh my
go
God.
figure. When he was talking to who's he talking to? When
Connie.
he was
The
no,
curly hair?
it's not when he's talking to Connie. It's when he's talking to somebody else, and he's talking about like, these guys, they come back from war.
He's talking to the French fucking.
Is that who it is? Yeah. The French.
Oh my God! The shit. All he said.
Promulgate. Promulgate.
Promulgate. Oh my God! Also, it's like it. Did he mean propagate?
No, he meant promulgate.
Promulgate.
Yeah, he means the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Oh.
I'm like, why? What are the journalist was just like,
Mm-hmm.
God. They were. This is my favorite thing about these kinds of like shows. Like the same thing. Like watching how the girls interact with each other was my favorite part.
Of course.
I loved it so much, and I don't mean like sexually. I mean like literally, like the scene where like I loved JJ. I love JJ, and I was kind of sad when she left. But the part where they were like, "How long have you been doing this?" and she said 4 months. And because they were like, "How long have you been, doing like sex work?" And she was like, 4 months. She's like, "Just as long as I've been at the ranch." And I was like,
yeah, and she's like, "I got to get out of the business."
Yeah, she's like, "I can't do this anymore."
It's turning me hard.
I know. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Well, and I guess at least at the time it was like you work for 3 weeks, you're on for 3 weeks, and you just live in the house, and then you get a week off.
Oh yeah.
So 4 months.
Yeah.
She's been there 12 weeks already.
No. Oh yeah. No. Oh.
Working. Solid,
yeah. Sorry.
solid
No, I don't know why I was
work.
like, that math doesn't, because 3 plus 3. Oh, never mind. Yeah, like that's crazy. Like, but that's the thing. They're like the scene where they're like, some guys show up at like 9:45 in the morning. She's like, "It's 9:45."
Yeah. You have to wake them up.
And
They come out in their back. I love how nobody's like.
No one's faking it, which is, I mean, like some of them do, but like, the one where they have like the Japanese, like.
That's like the first Johns we see, right? Isn't it?
Yeah. She's like, hurry up. They're like not picking any girls, and they're like not saying anything, and fucking Fran is getting so pissed about
who's
it.
The madam.
Yeah, she's so fucking livid about it, and she's like, this is terrible, and I understand what she's saying. She was like, this is what she was. I think what she meant. She kept saying, it's uncomfortable for them to stand in this position. But I think what she was trying to say was like it's
on display in front
yes,
of
like
everybody.
it's uncomfortable for them
and to not be picked.
Yeah, to not
I mean,
be
that's
picked.
a horrible scenario anyway.
Yes,
like what
correct.
a horrible way to.
I know.
I mean, I don't. Whatever. I have no idea how else you would
I
do
imagine
it.
I imagine it's like 6 in one hand, a bag of dicks in the other. Like, because you either don't get picked, and then you have to have a conversation with that one dude who's a fucking monster,
Walter.
Walter Millen, and then you either have to have a conversation with him if you don't get picked enough, or you have to get picked and then deal with people that like don't want to pay you shit and just want you to like give them a rim job for like 10 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what the fuck? Also, like, never in a million years would I go to like an establishment
Mm-hmm.
and be like, what's the least amount of money I can pay you and get something?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Like,
and this is why you're never gonna pass.
like, I.
Sorry. Hate to bring it to you.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, like, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like,
dude's going in there and haggling. I'm like,
right. Here's the thing: if I'm going to Vegas, if I'm like, I want to spend some money, and I want to like, you go to those tables and you like you gamble and you go to the like the most expensive casino, and you book a week and you hang out and you buy drinks and you do all these things, and then you go to the like you go to the fucking chicken ranch and you're like, I have 25 cents.
What did that give me?
And yeah, and you go to the bunny ranch and you're just like, what can I get for the cheapest price? Like, wouldn't you want to like flaunt your money and get everything that you could get? Like, why would I be like, what's the least amount of money? Like, it's truly so baffling to me. I would literally be like, only if I had it, obviously. Like, if I was going there, I'd be like, I have like $3,000. Can I stay the night?
Yeah, right.
Like what the fuck? It's insane. Oh God, my favorite part of Vegas is, hold on, let's see if I can. Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard to. Hang on.
Oh yeah. Every street corner, every crosswalk. Those fucking glossy ass.
Oh my God! And
that's what's killing the planet.
This is what I'm gonna tell you a story. I was internet friends with someone named Veronica Zemanova. I think that's how you say her last name.
Okay.
I have no idea if it was really her or not. She was like a glamour model or whatever, and did a lot of like photo shoots for like, she was like
Glamour magazine?
No, like glamour model. She was like that's what she called it. That's what she referred to it as. Basically saying she did like porn pictures, but without actually porn. She was like, I pose, but I don't do anything. So like she would like pose with like, a sex toy, or like she was doing, spread, do stuff. She would do photo shoots, but she wasn't actually making like penetrative content. Like she wasn't filming anything. She was just doing photos. And I have no idea if it was really her or not. It's not really, but like her photos were on half of those like glossy little things, which I was like, you could think that wasn't believable, but they're just like pulling, like it's not, it's just like the photos, like they're like, call this number to, talk to this girl. And I was like, it was so baffling to me because like you have escort services that are like legal.
Okay.
Because an escort service, you're paying for a date.
Okay.
Not
sex.
I mean, I think that's like a thing. Like escort services are legal because you're not paying for sex, you're paying for a date, and maybe you'll have sex. Like, like, what? How's that getting around? So, like, you're calling these numbers to get an escort, and they're standing on the corner of the strip, like, fucking tapping the shit out of these, like, oh my God. And my favorite part was these streets were lined with just discarded, like, little things. And, like, I took a picture one time because it was literally like, you know what, like, it looks like when you have, like, leaves all over it, like, in the gutter?
Yeah.
It was like that, but it was the photo.
Absolutely.
It was, oh my God. I was like, this is insane. This is literally, this is insane. And so I miss that so much about me.
Yeah, I bet.
But see, they wouldn't hand them to women. They would tap it when they weren't handing it to someone. So they would just do like this. And then if you walked by and you were a woman, they would just tap. So you would just hear the whole time you were walking by the line of people trying to hand you the same fucking horrible. Oh, my God. Horrible. Anyway, then you watched the 9 to 5.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I had no idea about this movement.
I actually didn't know that it had anything to do with anything in real life other than, you know, like women in the workplace.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the group that called itself 9 to 5 started with some workers at Harvard. I don't think they were business students, but
sorry, I just remembered when we recorded the podcast episode, you said this, that Harvard, and I started laughing, and I said, pocket cod,
yeah, that's true.
So that made me laugh.
But it was specifically like clerical, secretarial work from the get-go, and then, you know, it just grew from Harvard to the larger Boston area, and then from there to, you know, chapters started popping up. They had like a newsletter and shit. So that got distributed, and so other chapters started popping up, and then
No, yeah, it's wild to think.
Eventually, they tried there was, towards the end of the documentary, is them talking about like trying to basically join a union, and what a hassle that was.
Yeah.
And shocker, the amount of sexism they encountered at first.
What? Sexism in the workplace?
And then, you know, like once they did have a union, once they had a local or whatever, then like when they would try to talk to people, how they'd be like, oh, unions are corrupt. You know, I don't want to be a part of unions.
Oh, my God.
So, you know, I don't know. So I think there's like one chapter that still exists of the union version of it.
That's surprising that any of them still exist.
Which I think it's Seattle.
Okay.
But I love too that their local number is 925. Pretty clever. Anyway, I recommend it as a doc. It's very easy to watch, and I loved watching the people who are the founders and people who joined along the way.
It's wild to think, though, that was like something. I mean, like, I understand, and I don't mean it in the sense of like, it's crazy to think of like how much we've progressed. I'm not trying to say, but it's insane to think that like something like that needed to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the complaints, like the shit that is depicted in the film, are real real issues that were happening. I mean, as far as the like the shit that Lily Tomlin's character is, like, where she's been there 15 years or something, and some dude just passed up.
That's still a fucking thing.
Exactly,
like,
that shit still happens, but, like, you know, there was no legal protection.
Right.
There was nothing illegal at all about it at the time.
Right. Ugh.
And you could easily fire. I mean, again, this still happens, but, like, nobody had qualms about firing you if you got pregnant, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Because there were no protections.
Yeah.
One of the things they talk about, too, is the ERA and how that died. Multiple deaths.
What's that?
Equal Rights Amendment.
Oh. An amendment?
Mm-hmm. It was going to be an amendment to the Constitution.
Okay.
Granting equal rights regardless of gender.
We don't need that.
No. I mean, and at first, I think saw the light of day as a proposal in the late 70s. Okay, so the history of the ERA is even lengthier and more storied than I realized. It can be traced back to as early as the 1920s, with Seneca Falls and such. But it didn't gain enough traction until the 1970s to actually make it to be voted upon by both houses of the Congress. But at one point was passed and left to die without getting ratified. So, and many other ups and downs along the ways. I recommend checking it out. It's still a subject of some debate and controversy as far as its implications. I'll link to the Wikipedia article. But it's one of those things where literally, this is where, like now you see it sarcastically, but it's like feminism turns your women, like makes women, like kill babies and hate men and leave their jobs or whatever it is.
That fucking picture of I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like a woman and she like has a gun or something. It's like a cartoon or like a comic or whatever, and she like either like shoots a man. She's like shooting a man in the head, or she like tells him to kill himself. I don't remember, and it's like this is feminism.
Yeah.
I fucking love that.
No, but really, it's sadly, that's what happened to a lot of the momentum of that kind of organizing, especially about feminism and women's rights of the, the quote, women's lib.
Right.
Which I've never heard anyone who was a part of it call it that. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
It's Dabney Coleman in 9 to 5, and it was my mom growing up, so. But, like, no, it was totally the rise of, like, the moral majority and Reaganism and all that shit that happened in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Really quashed a lot of the momentum from the 60s and 70s.
I mean, I'm just glad that we've gotten past all that. Now there's no, like, now we have Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, Roe is
and
codified for eternity.
Gender equality, trans people are
LGBTQ people are...
Yep. Yeah.
Are canonized, lionized.
Yeah, it's
given
just
a personal.
It's great.
A personal force field. It's impossible to attack anybody.
Yeah, I mean, like we have legal protections. I have legal protections.
Speaking of Boston and hate crimes, just earlier this week I saw there was like a parcel bomb that exploded like at it was sent to a like women and gender study building.
It's insane to me. I understand in the sense of like hate and like and bigotry and things like that causing these things. I'm not like ignorant to the fact that like other people believe different things. But like it is bonkers to me. And also I understand that like because we've had like some victories, like there's going to be like a backlash towards that. So I understand like, what do you call it? Not scientifically, but like
intellectually.
Yeah, I understand that like these things are it's a cycle that can happen. Like I'm not saying I literally have no comprehension of this. I'm just saying I don't know why people behave this way. Like how someone's like, "Oh, you want to give transgenders the right to not be murdered?" You know what I'm going to do? Murder them harder. It's like, what the fucking shit? And the fact that, like, and I mean, a lot of it, and by a lot of it, I mean, it is white supremacy.
Yes.
Whiteness in particular, patriarchy. It's all of these things that are combined and, like, symbiotically thrive through each other. But, like, it's such a wild, and Christianity, feeds into that.
Helps a lot.
And it's so wild to me that, like, I mean, I know this is a fact because I grew up around this. Is that, like, Christians believe that they are the minority. And they believe that anyone else having equal rights or anyone else having any sort of legal protections
Yeah, is a threat to their
is
existence.
a threat to their Christianity and is a sign. It's not just a threat, it is a sign of like Satan actively coming after you. So you will have to like, so it's like responding in like violence.
Mm-hmm. Totally
is-
justified.
Right. And to me, like, that sort of thought has always been like so terrifying.
Yeah.
Of like, you want to respond to something you don't understand with violence.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds godly to me. What the fuck?
Well, I mean, it is
Yeah, well, yeah.
a lot like God.
It's a lot like the Lord. But yeah,
It's a lot. It's a lot.
But it's just, it's weird that, like, you know, it's the thing that you talk about where you're like, you know, like Three's Company, you know,
My favorite.
all of these things. You know, there are ways that we talk about it differently. But the fact, I mean, even like the fucking, I was saying this to you the other day, the Little Mermaid being black, like, yeah, it's great. I don't really, you know, I'm not.
Imagine giving a fucking shit.
But that's the thing. I'm like, it took us till, that movie's coming out next year. So it took us till 2023
Right.
to give kids a Little Mermaid that wasn't white. And that, yeah, that people give a shit. I saw this thing, someone has, like, deep faked it to be a white ginger. So that, and they'll like happily do, like, they're like, yeah, we plan to do the whole movie when it comes out.
Great.
What the fucking shit? Why? Imagine caring that much.
My favorite part is the folks who are like mad at Disney and Disneyland or World for their woke politics.
Oh my God, I know. I mean, Disney did go after that guy and shut down his entire Twitter account because he was posting images from it on Twitter, and they were like, nope, you're...
Images from what?
From his deep-faked Little Mermaid.
Oh.
Because he took the clips from the YouTube and he altered them.
And
And so they shut down his Twitter account. Which is like, you know, the only time it's acceptable for...
Well, I'm sure that won't feed his persecution complex.
No, not even remotely. But like, yeah, like, right. Like, people are like, oh, Disney's so woke. And like, meanwhile, Disney's like, I'm pretty sure we're pro banning abortion, right? You know, like, we don't like trans people. We'll hire them. Fire them. Like, I don't fucking know. Like, they don't give a shit. It's so weird.
I know. I remember
Disney doesn't care about you.
A famous comedian who has since been canceled, so no one has heard of him since. But I like this joke where he was like, if you're curious if Christianity won in the Western world, tell me what year it is. Why is it the year 2024? Oh, because it's that long since Jesus was born, presumably.
I know. Right.
I appreciated that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad that he'll never work again, but...
I wish I knew who you were talking about.
Me too. I wish you did.
Meta.
Think about... It's hard to decipher. Like, any... If you can imagine any... I watch so many comedians that have since been canceled.
Yeah, you've watched all the comedians that have been canceled.
Yeah.
Jeff Foxworthy.
Oh, did he get canceled?
Tim Allen. I don't know. I just assume. Tim Allen
He
got
does
canceled
host
because he's not gay.
Bible quiz now or whatever.
Oh God. Yeah, that's why I assume he's gotten canceled because he does Christian things.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh God.
Sam Kinison.
I told you about how my sister's husband, who I refuse to use the colloquial term for what that is.
Cunt?
No, when your sister is married, you usually refer to them as a brother-in-law.
Bitch?
I will not refer to him as that. He is my sister's husband. I will not call him anything else.
I think they have to legally adopt you before they're a brother-in-law.
So he was telling me that he was like showing me the comedy of Andrew Dice Clay, which I had seen before because I was only
We're
a couple
alive
years
in the
younger
late
than
80s?
him. Yeah.
Early 90s?
And it was probably like 99, 2000 that he's like, he's showing me Andrew Dice Clay. And he's like, this guy is the funniest comedian ever. Like, he is hilarious. And he's showing me this stuff. And I'm literally looking at him like, I hope you die. I was just like, he was like, isn't he hilarious? And I was like, no. No. He's like, it's so good. And I'm like, meanwhile, my other sister was sleeping with him, and I'm just like, why are you sleeping with him?
Just to...
I mean, they weren't together. My
Oh.
sister hadn't married him yet. My sister was in a relationship
Okay, so the
with
one
him.
sister married him just to piss off the sister who
so
had
here's
already
the-
slept with him.
Well, sort of. So my sister hooked up with him for a little while. He was like, oh, I'm so madly in love with you. And she was like, barf. So she broke up with him. He was obsessed with her. And my other sister and him were like, would talk shit about my sister, the first sister, and be like, oh, she's so selfish, she's such a bitch, whatever. And then they started sleeping together, and so they were in a relationship together. Meanwhile, he was like, like they were sleeping together, and he's like still talking shit on the, like still obviously obsessed with the first sister. And
so it's like Lana and Figgis.
and then he and my other sister broke up, and then he married the first sister. And yeah. And they've been together like probably like close to 20 years.
It's romantic.
Oh man. Yeah.
Palace intrigue.
He used to call he had a kid with her. She had a kid from a previous relationship. They had a kid together, and when that kid would go shopping with my sister, I remember I was like visiting, and this kid was like a terror. He was like literally a terror. He would like punch my sister in the face kind of shit and like spit on her and call her a bitch, and it was like awful, and she would just it was terrible. So he went to the store with us. He behaved. And when her husband got home, she was like, he was so good today. He behaved all day at the store, and he was like, oh, you like shopping with your mommy? Are you a little faggot? You like going shopping with your mommy? And I was like, that's great. Weird that he's an asshole half the time. That's
child,
interesting. Yeah. Right, yeah.
It's weird that they act out.
I know, right. I'm like, that's crazy that he... And they also got in trouble with CPS because they did the thing where they were like, pick a stick to get spanked with. And then they hauled off and hit that kid as hard as he could, and that child's leg split open. He has the giantest scar on the back. It's horrifying. And they were like, it was an accident. We didn't mean for that. That was never our intention. And I'm like, okay, but you literally beat the kid with a stick. So they were like, yeah, you can't spank your kids. You're not allowed to spank your kids. So they're like, we need alternative punishments. So their idea, the people are like, why don't you talk to your siblings? Let me tell you. So their alternative for spanking was to have them, like those big, thick, like the thick round candle that I have like in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
They had the kids hold their arms out and hold the candles. And they were like, you have to hold them for 10 minutes.
That's
like,
full on just SM.
Right. And they're like 10 minutes. They're like, of course we would make them actually hold it for 10 minutes. They're like, but they couldn't even do it for like a full minute. And they'd be like crying. And she was like laughing, telling me about it. And I was like, what the fuck? And so when like the CPS person came and was like, okay, and they were like, yeah, we do this. They're like, no, absolutely not. She's like, I don't understand. She's like, we're building their strength by doing this. And she's like, no, you will absolutely not have your children hold candles out in the air. Like, and it wasn't like they weren't like it would be one thing. I mean, I'm not saying that it's like chill, but if they were just like the little tiny, like, like those
Tapers.
kinds of, yeah, like, and like hold the candle out like for 30 seconds, I'd be like, okay, whatever. Like, that's a
Also,
weird.
just to clarify for the listener, I'm assuming they weren't lit.
I don't think so. I don't know. It was never specified to me.
That's fair.
And it's just
oh
like,
my God.
I know.
The next time they come back, they're like, well, we just locked them in the closet. We're not hitting them.
We hung them upside down until they passed out.
What's the matter?
I know. It was always like,
what do you want from us?
It was like, how are we supposed to punish them? And it's like, well, I mean, you're not supposed to go to punishment as like the only reaction to anything that they do. Like, I don't know.
Right to jail.
Right? Like, this is how like one time my nephew, sorry, I know I'm talking about this. This will be it. My nephew was getting on my nerves. Like, he kept being like shitty. And I said, I don't actually want to hear this. You can go in the other room. And he was like, I'm not going to go in the other room. And I was like, then I'll go in the other room. I literally don't want to be around you while you're acting like this. And he was like, oh my God. Because he'd never been told like that he was acting like shitty, and that it made someone not want to be around him because of how he was acting. And he like stopped doing it because he didn't want to not be in the same room as me. Like, he was like, oh. And I'm like, you don't have to like haul off and hit your kid. You can be like, hey, I need some time away from this, whatever this is. Like, it's chill.
Well,
if you want to act this way, I don't want to be around you. I'm just going to walk out. Like,
clearly his parents are fine adults, and if they were hit as kids, they turned out fine.
Yeah. So would you recommend either documentary?
Both. Again,
trigger warning for the Chicken Ranch.
Yeah,
For many reasons.
Several reasons,
yeah.
yes.
It's like definitely
one of which is that it's from 1983,
yes.
and
yeah,
I was a little shocked by the quality.
Oh wow!
Of the film and audio.
Yeah,
not great.
Not great.
But
also, I mean,
it's not unwatchable by any means.
No.
I'm like, wow.
I thought it added to it for me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The amount that they smoke. There's like almost not I don't even know if there, I was going to say, well, I don't know if that's true. But yeah.
I like that scene when they were like, what's in your mouth? And she's got a cigarette in her mouth and she takes the cigarette out.
No, I thought it was a mint. I thought it was a mint because she's sucking on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She has a cigarette in her mouth and she's sucking on something.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
it was funny because
yeah.
Fran is like, what's in your mouth? And because I'm just like, oh, there's a cigarette hanging out of her
right,
mouth.
Yeah.
So she takes the cigarette out and then holds her tongue out or whatever. And she's got like a lozenge or a candy or something. Yeah. It was funny.
Yeah, but like there is not a.
I don't think how much we see them smoking or sneaking doobies.
Yeah, that's really funny. I don't think there's a single scene where someone isn't smoking a cigarette.
Probably not.
Like not even like I don't even know if there's a frame, is what I'm saying. Like, truly. Probably. There is so much smoking. Like, everyone is smoking.
That's what my childhood was like.
Oh my God. Terrifying.
I love how in the parlor there's this huge wraparound lounge couch or whatever. It's all everything. Every pillow is covered in plastic. And like that must have had to be custom made and everything. And
yeah. I imagine everything there was custom
made.
Okay,
so I also want to say that like in my mind, because I saw this, I don't know if I saw Best Little Whorehouse. Probably not. I probably wasn't allowed to watch that. But I think that might have been why my brother found this and wanted to watch it.
Okay, that makes sense.
So they're both called the Chicken Ranch. There's a little thing at the beginning of the documentary where you hear a voiceover of someone saying, "Oh, we started in Texas and we moved out here, and some New York City slickers made a musical about it." I can find there's no lineage connecting the two that I can find. The dude who it's the guy in the movie, the dude who who started the Nevada Chicken Ranch, was running brothels before the one in Texas shut down, or was shut down.
Interesting.
Also, one of his early places was burned down, presumably by arsonists. He dealt with a similar kind of.
Right. Yeah. Well, I wonder if some of the girls from there went there, and that's what they were talking about.
Yeah, maybe.
Interesting.
Maybe Fran. I mean, yeah. Anyway, he sold it in 1982, so not like right after when the documentary was set.
Weird after.
Yeah, I wonder if that's how they were able to release it.
Right.
Because one of towards the end of the documentary, you see a couple scenes when it's because Mandy is fired and they're recording it, and Walter keeps coming in and being like, "You gotta stop shooting. None of this is gonna be in the movie. If you put it in the movie, I'm gonna sue you. I want you to give me the film itself, the physical film. Blah blah blah." And the last frame is like just on him being like, well, not the last frame. They do have a little coda, but Anyway, yeah.
Fascinating. He's just like. He's like, he keeps telling them, like, you're not allowed to film Mandy. You're not allowed to film anything where she's in it. Like, none of this is usable. You have to give me the reel right now. You have to destroy it. If you don't, like, if any of this gets out, I'm suing you, which I think makes him look really bad.
Sure.
And really, like, why would you care?
Yeah.
Why would you care if someone sees you fire a girl for any reason? Like, you can fire her for any reason.
That's a red flag. Even before we get Mandy's side, which is that he makes her take a client for way less than normal for what the service is being offered.
Yeah.
But I don't know why she got fired for that. Because she ended up doing it, didn't she?
Well, she said he made her do it. Yeah. And then she had, like, and I think she didn't.
Oh, she also says she quit.
Well, he said he was gonna. She said she quit before he was gonna. He was like, "You're like, yeah," and she said, "I quit."
Oh, also, this is a thing that's sort of not explicit. Nothing's explicit because it's a documentary, and there's no voiceover from.
Correct.
So, there's a little airstrip.
Yes. Which is where the voiceover comes in, because it's like
you're landing
and like it sounds like what I took it as was like the stewardess or whatever,
right,
or whoever is on the plane.
So the thing with Mandy at the end, he's like, "You're not leaving on my plane."
Yeah, he won't let her. Like, that's so awful. Like, he won't let her take his plane and shit like that. I'm like, oh my god.
Anyway, they referenced the Mustang Ranch. That's the only other brothel I think they mentioned in the documentary.
I didn't catch that.
And that was a real place. Obviously another real place that. It shut down in '93 or something. Basically forfeited to the government because of like tax evasion and all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, wild. Crazy. Say something funny.
28 or 29.